Hello children, hope you all are fine, safe and reading at home regularly and completing your homeworks in time. Welcome to the 10th standard social science class. Today we are going to learn about the chapter Gender, Religion and Caste. We are going to especially learn about gender. In India, the kind of treatment given to the women, how their work is valued and their role in politics. But before starting the class, I want you to get ready with a pen and a notebook to note down the important points as we are going through this lesson. So are you ready, children? So, the existence of social diversity does not really threaten democracy. Political expression of social differences is possible and sometimes quite desirable in a democratic system like India. In this chapter, we apply these ideas to the practice of democracy in our country. We shall look at three kinds of social differences that can take the form of social differences or divisions and inequalities. These are social differences based on gender, that is male and female, religion and caste. In each case, we shall look at the nature of this division in India and how it gets expressed in politics. We are also going to ask whether different expressions based on these differences are healthy or otherwise in a democracy. So as I told you, we are going to look at the three different kinds of social differences that take place. Okay? And they form social divisions and inequalities. In each case, we are going to look at the nature of division in India and how it gets expressed in politics. So when we speak about gender, we have the male and females in the society. Boys and girls are brought up to believe that the main responsibility of women is, let us see what? The main responsibility of women is housework and bringing up children. You can see the picture over here. A woman is carrying many things in her hands. You can see a broom, a kettle, many things are there. This is how a girl is taught from the childhood that her main duty is housework and bringing up children. This is reflected in the gender division of labor in most families. We can see women doing all the work inside the home such as cooking, cleaning, washing clothes, tailoring, looking after children, to name a few. And men do all the work outside the home. It is not that men cannot do housework. They simply think that if it is for women, it is for women to attend these things. When these jobs which the women does in the home are paid outside to men, they are ready to work. Most tailors or cooks in hotels are men. Similarly, it is not that women do not work outside their home. In villages, women fetch water, collect fuel and work in the fields. In urban areas, poor women work as domestic helper in middle class homes, while the middle class women work in offices. In fact, the majority of women do some sort of paid work in addition to domestic labor. But Their work is not valued and does not get recognition. So this is a form of hierarchical society or social division seen everywhere, but is rarely recognized in the study of politics. The gender division tends to be understood as natural and unchangeable. However, remember children, it is not based on biology but on social expectations and stereotypes. The result of this division of labor is that although women constitute half of the humanity, their role in public life, especially politics, is minimal in most societies. Earlier, only men were allowed to participate in public affairs, vote, and contest for public offices. Gradually, the gender issue was raised in politics. Women in different parts of the world organized and agitated for equal rights. There were agitations in different parts of the world for the extension of voting rights to women. These agitations demanded enhancing the political and legal status of women and improving their educational and career opportunities. More radical women's movements aimed at equality in personal and family life as well. These movements are called feminist movements. Okay, so the movements for the welfare of women are called as the feminist movements. Political expression of gender division and political mobilization on this question helped to improve women's role in public life. We now find women working as scientists, doctors, engineers, lawyers, managers, and college and university teachers, which were earlier not considered suitable for women. But still, see children, the next picture. Your mummy always says to outsiders, even though she works outside sometimes, whenever she is a housewife, she says, I do not work, I am a housewife. But generally, you see your mother working non-stop all the time. If what she does is not work, then what else is work? So respect your mother or sister who works at home, or your grandmother, it can be a grandmother also, respect their work. Even though they are not paid, they are doing work for you. Clear? So we now find women in different fields. In some parts of the world, for example in the Scandinavian countries such as Sweden, Norway and Finland, these are called as Scandinavian countries. Okay, Sweden, Norway and Finland. The participation of women in public life is very high. In our country, women still lag much behind men despite some improvement since independence. Ours is still a male-dominated patriarchal society. So, patriarchal society is a society where men take all the decisions. Women face disadvantage, discrimination and oppression in various ways. So, gender and politics, as I discussed, we are going to note this again. Okay. So, as I told you, we began with gender division. This is a form of hierarchical social division seen everywhere but is rarely recognized in study of politics. The gender division tends to be understood as natural and unchangeable. Most people think that this gender division cannot be changed. It is unchangeable. So, gender division or public-private division is reflected in the gender division of labor. The result of this division is that although women constitute half of humanity, their role in public life, especially public politics, is minimal in most societies. I mean to say that in political life, their work is not recognized. Earlier, men were allowed to participate in public affairs. Gradually, women also organized and agitated their rights throughout the world. In countries like Sweden, Norway and Finland, What are these countries called as? Yes, you are right. Scandinavian countries. Okay? Sweden, Norway, and Finland are called Scandinavian countries where the participation of women in public life is very high. In our country, women still lag much behind men despite some improvement which has been made since independence. So ours is still a patriarchal society. Okay, let us see how they are discriminated in the society. So the literacy rate among women is only 54% compared with 76% among men. Similarly, a smaller portion of girl students go for higher studies. When we look at school results, girls perform well as boys. I mean to say that girls sometimes perform better than boys also. But they drop out because parents prefer to spend their resources for their boys' education rather than spending equally on their sons and daughters. No wonder the proportion of women among the highly paid and valued jobs is still very small. On an average, an Indian woman works 1 hour more than an average man every day. Yet, much of her work is not paid and therefore often not valued. The Equal Remuneration Act of 1976, remember this children? The Equal Remuneration Act of 1976 provides that equal wages should be paid to equal work. So what does this specify? It specifies that equal wages should be paid to equal work. It doesn't discriminate gender here. Clear? However, in almost all areas of work, from sports and cinema to factories and fields, women are paid less than men even when both do exactly the same work. In many parts of India, parents prefer to have sons and find ways to have a girl child aborted before she is born. Such gender selective abortion led to a decline in child sex ratio, which is nothing but number of girl children per 1,000 boys in the country, to merely 914. Girls are not safe even in their home. They are used to beating, harassment, and other forms of domestic violence. So in India, the proportion of women in legislature has been very, very low. India is among the bottom group of nations in the world. India is behind several developing countries. All this is well known. Yet issues related to women's well-being or otherwise are not given adequate attention even today in India. This has led to many feminists and women's movements to the conclusion that unless women control power, their problems will not get adequate attention. So they thought of having women leaders everywhere. One way to ensure that this is to have more women as elected representatives. In India, the proportion of women in legislature has been very, very low. For example, the percentage of women members or elected women members in Lok Sabha has crossed 10% of its total strength for the first time in 2009. This share in the state assemblies is less than 5%. In this respect, India is among the bottom group of nations in the world, as I told you. You can see the graph also, it's reflected over here. Okay. India is behind the average for several developing countries when compared with Africa and Latin America. In the government, cabinets are largely all male, even when a woman becomes a chief minister or a prime minister. One way to solve this problem is to make it legally binding to have a fair proportion of women in elected bodies. This is what the Panchayati Raj has done in our country. One third of seats in local government bodies, in panchayats and municipalities, are now reserved for women. Now, there are more than 10 lakh elected women representatives in rural and urban local bodies in India. Women's organizations and activists have been demanding a similar reservation of at least one third of seats in Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women. A bill with this proposal has been pending before the parliament for more than a decade. But there is no consensus, no result or no decision was taken over this among all the political parties. The bill has not been passed. Gender division is an example that some form of social division needs to be expressed in politics. This also shows that disadvantaged groups do benefit when social divisions become a political issue. So, do you think that women could have made the gains we noted above if their unequal treatment was not raised in a political domain? So as I told you, we have seen these slides. So can you identify the women in the slide? Yes, children. She is none other than Sonia Gandhi. Okay. So one way to solve the problem of women, to increase women's political representation, is to make it legally binding to have fair proportion of women in elected bodies. So as we have seen, this is what the Panchayati Raj system has done in India. One third of its seats are reserved for women. Same is being planned for Lok Sabha. Okay. So as we are discussing about gender, religion and caste, we are expressing thank you in different languages from different parts of the world. MER is mercy, you can see that is in French. Thank you in English, and there are many languages over here. So thank you, children. With this, we come to the end of this particular part of this lesson, gender, religion and caste, where we discussed about gender, especially women, how they are treated in the society, what kind of improvements can be made, and so forth. So keep reading at home, children. Do complete your homeworks in time. Thank you.